Hello, it's great to have you back again today. What I'm going to talk about today is creativity. Creativity is one of the most useful skills we can possess. It's when we make new connections between old ideas or identify relationships between different concepts. Being creative, it's not about yielding something new from scratch. It's the process of acquiring an existing concept and combining its elements in a way that has never before been envisioned. Let's take a few steps back in time in order to garner a little historical background about creativity within our society. We'll reach back to 1926 to learn something about a gentleman called Graham Wallace. Mr. Wallace was an English social psychologist and a co-founder of the London School of Economics, who at the age of 68 penned an article entitled The Art of Thought. It was a theory outlining the 4 different stages of creativity, which Mr. Wallace based on his own investigative observations and on the accounts of many famous inventors. He affirmed that there were 4 stages of the creative process. The first was preparation, then incubation, followed by illumination, and finally verification. Within the first stage, preparation, according to Mr. Wallace, this stage is when we research the concept, gathering all the necessary resources and information. It's the conscious part of the creative process, and it's when all the hard graft takes place. The second stage was incubation, and according to Mr. Wallace, incubation was the stage when we take a step back from our creative process. It's when the unconscious processing takes place. Now, Wallace noted that this stage had 2 differing parts. The negative fact being that during this incubation stage, we don't actually consciously analyse our idea, as opposed to the positive part of this process, which contains a series of involuntary, unconscious thoughts taking place. The third stage was illumination, and the illumination stage is that flash of insight that the conscious self can't manifest and the subliminal self can only welcome once all the research has been gathered during the preparation stage and has been pondered on during the incubation stage. Verification is the final stage of this creative process. And this final stage shares with the first a conscious and deliberate effort in the way of testing the validity of the idea, the concept, and reducing the idea itself to an exact form. The concept is published, ready to be subjected to scrutiny. Now, anyone who regularly creates will always scrutinise their own work, and moreover, they'll often be their harshest critics. It's what makes each of us human. I know that when I'm making my violin videos, I'm continually doubting the quality of the content, and it's natural to feel disheartened when our creations sometimes aren't as wonderful as we'd envisioned they'd be. But it's important that we do not let our frustration stop us from continuing to do the work that we love doing. In the words of Maria Popova from Brain Pickings, self-doubt is a familiar state for all who put pieces of their inner lives into the outside world. That is, for all artists. According to the American author Stephen Pressfield, this self-doubt, this human trait, goes by the name of resistance. And it's this resistance that is so adept at keeping us from doing our work, that we're blissfully unaware of how learned it actually is, as it grazes on our ardour, causing each one of us to feel fear, self-doubt, timidity, self-loathing, perfectionism. Isn't it for this very reason that we don't let resistance stop us from doing the work we love doing, and that we forge ahead, practicing our skills continuously, which is the only way to make progress? Consistent, continual practice. To quote the author Seth Godin, you don't launch a popular blog, you build one. You show up, you do the work day in, day out. And in the words of James Clear also, genius arrives when you show up enough times to get the average ideas out of the way. Now, showing up enough times lets me stick to my daily schedule with my violin work, and it's central to ensuring that I'm moving forward continually. I just can't let resistance win. It does interrogate me. Very often I would ask myself the question, am I really a violinist? But I cannot let resistance eat away at me. I can't let it win. And I find that creating and sticking to a daily schedule with my work is what works best for me. It ensures that I'm progressing. I'd plan out my weekly schedule right down to the length of time allocated to each piece of work that I'm doing. And I follow this schedule and check off each task once it's completed. This regimental approach gets rid of the element of choice. I don't question it. The schedule has been drawn up and I stick to it. I have to stick to it. To once again quote James Clear, no single act will uncover more creative genius than forcing yourself to create consistently. Practicing your craft over and over is the only way to become decent at it. Now, being creative, it's not about being the first person to come up with an idea. More often, creativity is about connecting ideas. I'm definitely not the first person to film footage of the violin, but I'm the first person to shoot film footage of the violin within my life and how it applies to my daily existence, allowing me to capture this fascinating instrument from the vast array of perspectives that I've encountered throughout the 43 years of having worked with it. My creative quest of combining video with the violin, it's a slow learning process. It takes time and consistency. And as voiced by Seth Godin, we have to stick with it because long-term contributions matter. Add up the sum of our days, and that's who we are. We get what we repeat. Thanks a million for being here today with me. If you think you've got anything, if you feel that you've got anything from today's video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe and hit the notification. I'll keep you posted in my next video with how my creative process of combining the violin and video is coming along. Thank you.